Greetings, brothers and sisters.
Hello.
Hello. We're going to continue and do some more 1 Peter and more stuff there. Peter is a very good book to remind us about things that are important, to get us refocused on things that are sometimes forgotten. Okay. So in chapter 4, 1 Peter. 1 Peter chapter 4. We break into the thought. We've already been before it there. So consequently, summing up all this other stuff that we did before, since Christ has suffered for us in the flesh, or since Christ suffered physical pain, he did. Christ suffered many, many things. You must arm yourselves also with the same mind that he had. The same mind that he had, the same attitude, in other words. The same attitude. Because he that suffers, or has suffered in the flesh, has finished living in sin. In other words, be ready to suffer too. Be ready to suffer too. We will suffer. Because if you are willing to suffer for Christ, that means that you have decided to stop sinning. It means you have decided to stop sinning. You've come to a decision in your life that you can't go back. When you make that decision, you got to stay on that path. You got to continue through. And it's hard, because he says you will suffer. It's hard. It's not a walk through a garden. It's not a walk through a garden at all. Christ suffered. It was difficult. It wasn't easy for Christ either, seems like. Was it? No. He cried. He prayed hard. He prayed hard one time, just before he died, that blood literally came from his pores. He prayed to his Father that if there is any other way to do it, let me know. Nevertheless, I'm willing to do it. I'm willing to do it. If we have come to the decision that we're going to stop sinning and we're going to suffer from Christ, we're going to suffer. It means we are willing to do it also. Sometimes it's hard to follow through on that, isn't it? Because when we do suffer, sometimes we get discouraged, don't we? We feel like we're failing sometimes, and we just get discouraged, and sometimes we feel we need to just step back for a little bit. I can't bear this right now. Let me just hide for a little while, and I'll come back later. And I understand that. I've been there. Been there many times. 1991 is when I got baptized. It's now 2017. Been at that point many times. Many times. And I expect I'll be there a few times in the future too. Where you reach a point where things just come at you all the time. Paul talks about being pressed on all sides, right? In the physical, in the temporary. And he found it hard. Being pressed on all sides. What does that feel like? Have four walls closing. You've seen these things in the movies sometimes. These walls just moving. If they don't get out of that room, they're just going to be...
Towers.
You know? That's pretty much how he's describing it. You know? And the way he got through it was by focusing his mind on the spiritual. Because the physical goes away, passes away. Just like one of our flock passed away on Wednesday. The physical is temporary, it passes away. But the spiritual is forever. The spiritual lasts. It endures. And is what you have to focus your mind on when you're being pressed on all sides. Because you can't get out of that vice in a physical manner. It's not going to happen. You know, we sang, don't know what will happen tomorrow, right? You don't know what will happen tomorrow. It may bring poverty. We sang that in that song. But you know, the one who feeds the sparrows is the one who stands by us. Right? So it doesn't matter what physical things we go through. We have someone who cares for us, who watches over us, and knows that when we go through these things, it's for His purpose. It's for His purpose. It's for us also. But first and foremost, it's for His purpose. It's for His glory. When we succeed and we reach that kingdom, it's more glory for Him. It's more glory to God. Because when there's more of God, there's more glory. When we become like Him, that's more glory to God. It's something that we always have to be focused on. Always have to be focused on. Even when it's very hardest. As you can tell, I mean, I've gone through many things too. You can see that. I mean, there's emotion here as I'm talking, as I'm speaking. I'm no stranger to the trials of this world either, just like many of you are. And we each have our own walk. We can't walk somebody else's walk either. Can't do it. You can walk together and help stay together, arm in arm, right, shoulder to shoulder. It is possible to do it all by yourself. It is. Abraham did it. David did it. Job did it. Very few did it on their own. It's near impossible, actually, to do it on your own. We have to do it together. Now, I can't remember what the saying is in the military terms, but I remember the movie Backdraft. Remember the movie Backdraft? You ever see that? Kurt Russell? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Firemen. And they're in this burning building, right? And they help each other. They have their backs. I remember this one time, some guy had fallen, and Kurt Russell, had his arm holding him, was dangling. He's going to fall to his death. There's fire and whatnot below there. And the guy's name was Axe, I think. And he's looking up at Kurt Russell there. I can't remember what this guy's name was. He said, "Just let me go. Just let me go." Because he knew that he couldn't hold on to him forever. Their lives were both going to end if he didn't let him go. And Kurt Russell's character says, he's looking down at him, says, "If you go, we go." He wasn't going to let him go.
No one left behind.
No one left behind. Yeah, that's another one. No one left behind. We do it together. We do this together. And we don't do it by ourselves. And always remember that when you become overwhelmed, because you will be overwhelmed sometimes. You'll be so overwhelmed that you'll want to just run and hide sometimes. You won't want to talk with anybody. You just want to, I don't know. Those moments don't happen very often, thankfully. They don't. And they become less and less as we move forward in our walk. They don't happen as often, thankfully, because we become stronger spiritually. The more times you go through a hardship, a trial, the stronger you become. The stronger you become. That's what James talks about too, is when you count it all joy. When you go through these things. I don't find them any fun. It's a weird word, count it all joy. But it is joy, honestly, because the end result is joy. You know, it is joy. The end result is joy. Going through it's not joyful. I'm sure Christ wasn't in joy while he was being crucified, but in the physical, no. In the spiritual he was, because he knew what he was going to accomplish through this. So he was joyful in the midst of his sufferings, because he knew what it would accomplish. And that's what we got to keep focused on, is we know what it will accomplish. It will accomplish more glory for God. Isn't that a wonderful thing? More glory for God. Our sufferings add up to more glory for God. So always take hope. We have made the decision, and we don't go back on it. To this end, he no longer lives his remaining time in the flesh to the lusts of men, but to the will of God. In other words, and you won't spend the rest of your life chasing after evil desires, because you will be anxious to do the will of God. Yeah. When we decide to step forward, we anxiously want to do the will of God. And we're no longer focusing on the things of this world. We're not chasing after the things of this world anymore. We have to live in this world. We have to eat. We have to pay our mortgages. We have to buy clothes. We have to live. So, but we're not focused on, accumulating things. Accumulating things, it's nothing. It's nice to have things. It is. It's nice to have a nice car that won't break down on you. It's nice to have a home that you don't have to fix up every other day. To have running water. How many people don't have running water, a bathroom in their home in this world? I mean, the vast majority of people live in poverty in this world. They do. The vast majority. I can't remember the percentage of it. It's got to be 80, 90% maybe. I mean, you think of all the people in China and India, they're the most populous nations, and most of them live in poverty. The vast majority of them do. The African nations, Middle East, Philippines, so everywhere. Yeah. Everywhere. So we're going to be grateful for what we do have. We have a lot, especially in our nations. God has blessed us very much. God has blessed us beyond what most people have in this world, even though we don't have a lot that you think. We may think we don't have an awful lot. We constantly have debt, or don't have proper shoes sometimes, or whatever it is. You have a place to live. You generally have a vehicle, have a TV or more. Some people have more than one vehicle. But those things aren't important. We are rich, really, relatively speaking, in this world. We are. We are. We don't need more of the same. We don't. Poverty, we might have it. We sang about it. Right? And that's okay too. That's okay too. In fact, it's better to be having less than having more. Because when you have more, there's that much more that you could lose that you don't want to lose now because you have it. And when you have a lot of nice things, you don't want to lose them. Most people don't. And having a lot of things can interrupt your walk. It could shift your focus because now the things become more important.
Adversity brings you closer to God.
Adversity always brings you closer to God. Always does. The rich and famous, you look at them and they have so much money. They have so much fame, and people look up to them and worship them almost. But you look at their lives though. Most of them are just in shambles. Divorces all over the place. Rehab. Just a whole bunch of nonsense happens when you have a whole lot. Focusing on this world doesn't work. It doesn't work. It really doesn't. Focusing on God is the only way. It's the only way. There is only one way. For the past time of our lives is sufficient to have worked out the will of the Gentiles. That's an interesting expression. I like it better this way here. It says, you have had enough in the past of the evil things that godless people enjoy. We've had enough of that. We've had enough of that. Their immorality and lust, their feasting and drunkenness and wild parties, and their terrible worship of idols, all that stuff. We've done that. We've been there. We've been there. We've enjoyed all that, right, with everybody else. We were there. And we know what it comes to, what it amounts to. And it amounts to nothing. It amounts to havoc. It amounts to ruining of lives. It doesn't produce anything that's good. We've had enough of it. We're done with it. We're done with it. And of course, your former friends are very surprised when you no longer join them in the wicked things that they do. Isn't that true? They're surprised. Well, I used to love to do this and that. Come on, where's the old so-and-so? Come on, let's go out and the good old days. And when you resist that, you say, nah, I'm done with that. I've had enough. Some of them will say evil things about you. So what? So what? Is that going to convince you to go and do it? They call you names, talk you down, or say, oh, you're a Bible thumper now, eh? Make jokes about you. So what? So what? Remember, they will have to face God too. Everybody will have to face God. And God will judge everybody, both the living and the dead. Everybody. We all come and stand before the throne of God at some point. And an accounting will be made. And a testing will be made by fire. And if any work isn't good, it gets burned up. So this world, you can't worry about it. Can't obsess about it. Can't even care about really all the political nonsense and whatever that's going on. Can't change it. You have one vote too. I mean, if you think, oh, this political party is better than that one, it's like, they're all bad. All amounts to nothing. It's all Satan's kingdom. Doesn't matter which government it is. Yeah, some are worse than others, but they're all bad. The systems of this world are bad. They're Satan inspired. What's good about that? Why do you want to get in the middle of all that anyway? You want to get in the middle of Satan's agenda? Be part of it? Who cares about it? You know, I mean, I'll vote. I will. I'll cast my vote on a party that I think, at the time, that'll do the least amount of damage. That's pretty much how I look at it. And then I get out of the way. There's nothing else I can do. One vote. I'll do my part in this world for that. You know. But I know that, like, it's like, these guys are the great. No, they're not. No, they're not. You know. And when you see the hardships that happen in the world, like these hurricanes that have just gone through the states there, and pray for those that are in need. God looks after the sinner too, in that way, for their lives, especially when godly people pray for them. God sends rain on the sinner as he does for the godly. Right? He loves those people too. They're his creation. He has a plan for them. We know what that plan is. They will too one day. They will also. So pray for them. Because they really need it. They really need it. And if you think you have it hard, think about what they're going through right now. Or any disaster that happens in the world. Right? Those poor people, those poor families. And we think we have it so tough. We don't have it tough. Yeah, no, we don't have it tough at all. And that's why the good news is preached even to those who have died, so that although their bodies were punished with death, they could still live in the Spirit as God does. The good news is there is life to be had. A spiritual life that is forever, that is eternal. Spiritual life that is eternal. To be with God forever. What's better than that? I like chocolate peanut butter ice cream very much. I do.
It's disgusting.
Oh, it's best. I could eat a whole tub of that. But I toss it aside.
Toss the empty containers.
Yeah. Here's an important note here. The end of the world is coming soon. Peter wrote this 2,000 years ago. In God's world, oh yeah, it's coming soon. There isn't really time in God's realm. It doesn't really exist. The end of the world is coming soon. And the world for us is just in our physical, temporary 70, 80, 90 years. That's all we have. I mean, thousands of years don't matter for us because we don't live thousands of years to experience it and wait. So the end of our world is our lives, pretty much. It comes soon. How much time do we really have? How much time do we really have? Therefore, be earnest and disciplined in your prayers. Earnest and disciplined in your prayers. Interesting. Or be serious-minded and watchful in your prayers. Make your prayers count. And what do you pray for? Do you pray for selfish things that you would like to have, or for godly things? Make them count. Most important of all, continue to show deep love for each other, or have fervent love among yourselves. Fervent. It's a good word. And we can't have that if we don't see each other. We have to be together to do this. And look what God says here. For love covers a multitude of sins. It covers a multitude of sins. Things that you may have goofed up on, some sin that you do. If you have deep love like this, that is so much more important than the mistakes that you continually make. If you have this kind of love that God is asking you to have, He will overlook the mistakes you're making in a heartbeat. Love covers a multitude of sins. It's Christ's blood pretty much covering them. To have godly love in you and expressing through you for each other covers a multitude of sins. And love is described in 1 Corinthians 13. Yeah, maybe I'll check it out. 1 Corinthians 13. We read that a lot. So you can have many languages you can speak. A dozen languages. A gift from God. If you don't love, it's nothing. You can have the gift of prophecy and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, which means you have godly knowledge and wisdom. You can understand the plan of God. You get it. You can talk about it, preach it. But if you don't have this love, and you can have all kinds of faith, that so much faith that you can move a mountain. But you don't have this kind of love. It means nothing. It means nothing. And you can be so generous that you give away everything. But it'd be just a show if you don't have this kind of love. The qualities of love is patience, kindness, doesn't envy, doesn't brag about itself, not puffed up, doesn't behave disgracefully or seek its own things, it's not easily provoked. That's a hard one. I can get provoked, especially on the road. It's like, oh, God. Right? Thinks no evil, doesn't rejoice in sin. It rejoices in truth. It bears all things. It endures. It believes all things. Never fails. God never fails. God is love. God never fails. We sometimes fail. Perfect love doesn't fail. That's what we're working to. We all don't have perfect love right now. God has perfect love. We are learning how to acquire that. We are becoming that. We are being transformed that way. Or at least we should be. At least we should be. And we do it together. Okay. All these other things, they will cease. All these other things will cease. Love endures forever. Verse 13. There's only 3 things that remain. There's only 3 things that remain. Everything else is gone. Doesn't matter. Faith, hope, and love. And the greatest of all is love, really. Faith, hope, and love are the only things that endure. And love is the greatest of all. Yeah, where am I here? Here we are. So cheerfully share your home with those who need a meal or a place to stay. And here's an important one too. Because sometimes we don't recognize what we have to give individually. Let each one, let everybody, that means everybody, not just the one sitting here doing this. You know, and this isn't any greater than what any of you could do. It's just another function of what God gives us. Let each one, according to what he has received a gift from God. We each receive a gift. Sometimes we receive multiple gifts and qualities that are all used to accomplish his will, to help us grow together. A body functions together. A heart is not a lung. A lung is not a liver. A liver is not an eye. The body can't function without all the other parts. Christ is the head, the brain. We are all those other different parts. And we all work together. We have to recognize what our gifts are. You know what your gifts are. You do. Express them. Express them. Share them. Because we all need your gifts, your individual gifts, to help us all get there. That's why we need to be together. And I cannot get there by itself. It just doesn't work. It doesn't work. The body works together. Everybody receives these gifts. Use them to serve others. Use them to serve the brothers and sisters of God. As good stewards. What's a good steward? We all have these gifts. We do. And we need to use them as good stewards of the grace of God, which manifests itself in various ways. Various ways. That means everybody has a function. Nobody is left behind without a gift that has no function or purpose in a church. Just a butt to sit in a seat. No, it doesn't work that way. Right? We all have a responsibility. We all do. This is one of my responsibilities. Sometimes it's very hard. Right? Sometimes a lot of eyes look at me and question. Well, I don't like what he's doing. Blah, 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 blah. Right? 'Cause I'm more visible out there. Right? It's easier to be over there. Much easier. It is. Right? In that regard. But it's also much harder for other people with other gifts in their own way as well. Right? Don't let that stop you from expressing your gifts, whatever they are. You know what they are. Use them in godly love for the betterment of God's people, the body of Christ. And do it with joy. Right? That's what fervent love is. Right? If anyone speaks, let him be words of God. If anyone serves, let it be from the strength which God supplies, so that in everything God is glorified through Jesus Christ, to whom is the glory and power in the ages of eternity. Wow. That's what it's all about. The glory of God through Jesus Christ. So don't be surprised when you have these fiery trials. Right? They're gonna come. They're gonna come. Yeah. James, James, just a couple pages over here. Again, he says this in James 1, verse 2, consider it all joy. Yeah! Let's all show for joy when we have these very difficult times. You know, my brethren, when you are beset by various trials, that means a lot of trials. It's going to be a lot of things. Not just one. And guess what? When you're done with that, there's going to be another one. And when you're done with that, there's going to be another one. It will keep happening for the rest of your life. It's not going to stop. But they get easier the more of them that you overcome. The more of them that you take on and accomplish and finish. You become an expert at enduring these things, and you know, then you don't have to endure them anymore. Then you don't have to endure that anymore. You've conquered it. You've overcome. He who overcomes, God will reward, right? It's in Revelation 2 and 3, all those different churches. Yeah. The testing of your faith produces endurance. When you exercise a muscle, it gets bigger, stronger. You exercise your brain. You work in here, you overcome in here. That's the big struggle. It's the struggle in your mind. Resisting the world is the struggle. Resisting the world is the struggle. There's so much in this world. So much. And a lot of it is good because God created it. A lot of it is very, very good. And God wants us to enjoy our lives, to have good things. And we do. He has blessed us mightily, as we talked about earlier, that yes, we are very fortunate to live where we do, to have what we do. Even though you may think you don't have a lot, you have much in the physical world. You do. But what you have that's more important is you have God. And that's much more than anything else. Yeah. Endurance has its perfect work. Endurance will have its perfect work so that you will be perfect and complete and won't lack anything. That's why you go through these hard things that you go through. Sometimes it's hard for me to get that too. Andrea knows. She knows me more than you guys do, because she's my wife. She knows what I go through. I know what she goes through. Right? And it's hard. She can attest to that. It's not easy for me either. It isn't. Yep. If you're sitting there thinking, he's got it, it's a piece of cake. It's no piece of cake. I'd rather be chocolate peanut butter ice cream. But no, cake. It's not a piece of cake. We will get there. And we will be perfect, complete, not lacking in anything. Because we were made perfect. To the degree that you have a share in the sufferings of Christ, rejoice. We have a share in the sufferings of Christ. It's a joy to experience that. It is, because it brings more glory to God. That's what it does. Rejoice, so that at the revelation of His glory you also may rejoice exceedingly. You will share in the glory. You will share in the glory. So don't worry what this world thinks about you. If you're reviled for the name of Christ, you're blessed. You are. If you're singled out as being weird or whatever, people hate you, don't understand you, don't get you anymore, it's all good. You know, just let it flow off your back, water off a duck's back. It doesn't matter. The Spirit of God, and glory, it's resting upon you. Just don't be like these evildoers. If you are suffering as a Christian, don't be ashamed. If you're suffering as a Christian, don't be ashamed. But glorify God because of this. Because it's to His glory that this is occurring. Because you are being made perfect. You are being put into the fire. You're being refined. You're burning away impurities. That's what it's about. That's what the testing is. You have to burn away the impurity. You have to burn away all these things of the world that are pulling you in a direction where you shouldn't go. And it'll occur for the rest of your life. Remember that. Don't worry about that. Don't be surprised when you encounter the next thing, the next hurdle. Those hurdles will never go away. You have to endure. Don't let a hurdle make you fall. Let someone else help you up if you do fall. Ask for help. That's what we're for. That's what the body does, the body of Christ. That's why it's described that way, because it all functions together. We all function together. We all have gifts that are different, that allow us to share so that we all succeed. We all succeed together. We don't do it alone. We don't do it alone. Indeed, the time has come for judgment to begin with the household of God. That's what these trials and tests are. Yep. If it first begins with us, what will it be for the end that don't obey? Look what it says in verse 18. If the righteous are saved with much difficulty. Much difficulty. That's because we're constantly being beset with trials. It's hard to stand in the fire and let it burn. It hurts. It's difficult, very difficult to stand in that fire and let it burn. But you have to, until all the impurities are burned away, which means all your carnal pulls are gone. That is when God's work in you is complete. And it's through much difficulty, because the glory that follows is so glorious. It's so much. It has to be done this way. For this reason also, let those who suffer according to the will of God commit their souls to Him in well-doing, as to a faithful Creator. That's a good way to think of it. So, what do we get from today? We're going to have trials. We're going to have troubles. We're going to have hurdles to go through. We have God, who is always there with us. We have each other. We all have different talents and strengths. We have to help each other. Don't think you don't have a part to play in the greater work. Everybody does. Let's share in what we have together. And wow, we got the Feast of Tabernacles coming up in just a couple of weeks, don't we? Trumpets this Wednesday. No, Thursday, isn't it? Thursday. Trumpets is Thursday. Yeah.
Please.
Get with the program. Yeah, trumpets is on Thursday.
Then atonement is the...
Then atonement. Yeah. See, the plan of God, we learn, we're encouraged by these things. Trumpets. Looking forward to that.
When I asked for it off at work,
Yeah.
he thought I said Feast of Pheasants.
The Feast of
And
Pheasants.
he said, okay, whatever. You can have the day off. Enjoy your pheasants.
There we go.
And I said, trumpets. Oh, is that where you just blow trumpets all day?
Yeah. No. Anyway, that's good. We'll leave it at that. Continuing on.